Chris Calzo here with
Wolverine.
And this episode of The First Run, Matt and I checked out two films. We're late last Friday or we're just super early this week. I'm in the process of unpacking. I moved down to Tampa, Florida. So far, I'm still alive. Nothing horrible has happened to me yet. No one's tried to eat me or any other type of physical harm or molestation to my person. So far, so good. We're going to talk about Pix, which I think is a good segue to Pixar's latest film, Inside Out. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that first. We'll share our thoughts as well on Jurassic World. We'll tell you what's coming up on Blu-ray and DVD. And we're also going to tell you what we think are the 5 best original properties since 2010. So no sequels, Matt, all right? No adaptations of books or songs or poetry or stories your grandfather told you. These all have to be original ideas.
Okay.
But just since 2010.
Okay.
So that's it's going to be a fun, relatively action-packed episode. And let's start things off with Inside Out. So
I'm joy. This is sadness. That's anger.
What?
This is disgust. And that's fear. We're Riley's emotions. We're what make Riley Riley.
Look out! Get off of me!
Nice job keeping it subtle, anger.
My pleasure, Joy.
These are Riley's memories, and they're mostly happy.
I wanted to maybe hold one.
Sadness? What are you doing?
Oh, the core memories! This is madness! Can I say that curse word now?
Change your mind like a girl. Changes clothes.
Is everything okay?
Fine, I guess.
Where are we?
Long-term memory.
We just have to get back to headquarters, and we'll be back to normal.
I'm too sad to walk.
I know a shortcut. Come on. I go in here all the time. You see? DANGER. Shortcuts.
So, Matt, this is Pixar's latest film, right? It's a story of a young girl, and as she's moved from Minnesota to California, right? San Francisco. And as she's adapting to things and, growing up a little bit, it's what happens is there's a crew of people that reside in our brains and that run our emotions and store our memories. And it's basically how this girl adapts to this location and then starts to grow. So Pixar is pretty much known for quality entertainment. Now, they do have their cash-ins, which we're critical of, like cars and planes, really, if you want to be specific. But this is the latest from the guy who did Up, which is a fantastic... I mean, let me tell you, the first 10 minutes, or is it not quite, of Up are possibly the saddest thing you're ever going to see. It really kind of just grabs you by the heart and won't let go. And the film itself, it just continues to be great. So this is the same guy, Doctor, which I love that's his last name is Doctor. Though he, it's ER, I believe.
Yeah,
so
it is.
My buddy Pete. So this is his latest contribution to the Pixar canon. And what do you think? What do you think, Matt? Are we talking now like Wall-E, Toy Story level? Or are we talking more maybe, I don't know, we'll say Cars? Where's this fall in the Pixar canon?
It's a good question. I definitely don't think it's on par with like Wall-E or Toy Story, but I don't think it's bad as like in bad's air quotes as Cars, or as I'd say it's probably more along the lines of something like Up, something that's it's really good, but it doesn't. This film, kind of like Up as well, it seems a little too old for kids for really young kids. So we took my daughter to this, and she was into it, but she didn't seem to really like it as much as probably me and her mom did. I think this is definitely one that's more geared towards adults.
So are you answering this question as your daughter then at this? I mean, or you feel? I feel like you're qualifying it by saying it's not as much of a kids film.
Well, it's not, but at the same, but I think some of the best things that Pixar does, they have that kind of sense of I think it has like some of their stuff like Wall-E, and it has a kind of their sense of wonder to it. Whereas this has that, but not. I don't think to the same level as some of the other ones. It's not as I don't know, adventure-y to me. It seems more. Well, I mean, I don't want to really get into like a lot of the specifics, but as far as they do a lot of talking and a lot of dwelling on the emotions, obviously, because they're the main characters of the friggin' story. But like, you don't spend a lot of time with Goofball Island, and you don't spend a lot of time with
Friendship Island,
and all that kind of stuff. You just even some of the bits in it, like where they go through the abstract thought, which I thought was really cool when they did that. That's going to go over the head of basically anyone who's under 16 years old for the most part.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the key things that Pixar is so good at, is making films entertaining for kids and entertaining for adults. I saw this last night at 9 o'clock. I wanted to go to a later show to avoid the young kids and the screaming babies. That didn't happen.
Yeah, not in Florida.
I was quite upset. There was a screaming young girl, and it's like it's 9:30, 9:40 at this point. What are you people doing? Bringing your kid? I used to work at a movie theater that had a strict policy that young kids weren't allowed to the late shows.
Yeah.
Once it cleared, those 9 o'clock shows, little kids were not allowed at all.
Okay.
And it just drove me crazy. Anyway, Pixar does a great job of this. For me personally, I rank this up there as one of their best films.
Okay.
Maybe because I didn't have a kid in tow that I needed to make sure was entertained for an hour and a half. But even though the lava short in the beginning, I didn't think was as strong as some of their opening cartoons. I still feel that Inside Out, I think, is one of the best films Pixar has done to this point. I think it's better than something like The Incredibles. I think it's better. I don't know if it's better than Wall-E. That still tends to be my favorite. But I would rank it up there with like a Toy Story or an Up for sure. Better than Brave, better than Monsters University. I think better than all the other ones. That's probably where I'd rank it then, is like maybe third-ish. Wall-E, Toy Story. Or is it Toy Story 2 is considered the best one, right? I haven't seen any of them in a long time. No. But yeah, I think what this film is able to capture is it's brilliant, really, from start to finish. How it captures the emotional changes, and as this girl deals with this move and losing all of her friends and the perfect world that she knew. It's so many fantastic, fun, and interesting ideas in this movie. I really how it portrays the emotions and how they work together. How it portrays how we remember, our memories, how we throw things away. I think one of the best things about it is Bing Bong, her imaginary friend.
Yeah, he
adds a lot of heart to the film as well. It really got me in the feels. Let me tell you, it really just it was a gut, it was a kick right to the feels, and I really just I don't know. I just think it's an absolutely brilliant film. It really is.
No, I mean it's good. I mean it's good. I mean, but I think to your point earlier, Pixar is so good at making things that are good for adults and for children, but this is so far to the left of the dial towards the adult thing. And I just think that's fair to say for if you're reviewing it. I mean, if you're expecting something where your kids are really going to be into it and you're going to get something out of it as well, that's not going to happen. I think it's more going to be you're going to get a lot out of it as an adult, but your kids are going to be kind of bored with it. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't like it, but I think I would definitely say this is probably middle of the pack. I think there's probably maybe five, six other Pixar movies I would put in front of this one.
That's insane. A lot of the kids I saw.
Well, wait a minute. Insane.
Yeah.
Let me just see what's in there. So, okay, we both agree Wall-E would go ahead of it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Toy Story 2.
Yeah, and then I'm done. I think
then you're done. So this is better than Finding Nemo?
I think so.
Better than Monsters, Inc., the first one?
Yes.
I mean, I'll give you that it's probably better than...
Even The Incredibles, which I loved.
Yeah, but The Incredibles has some kind of weird weird politics. That's once somebody kind of pointed it out to you, really it's kind of weird to watch that movie. I mean, I would definitely say it's better than like Bug's Life or Ratatouille. I'd say it's even better than Up, but I mean, I would still put this probably like maybe fifth.
Okay. So I got it around third or fourth, and you have it at fifth. All right. I just think I don't know. How it deals, Matt, with childhood and growth. I think in a lot of ways, it's very subtle in a lot of ways in how it portrays these things. Yeah. But it's also very deep in it, and it's an astounding film. And I think I just was continuously impressed and fascinated how it handled all these different, really difficult things about, when you're a kid and how everything works in your head. And I think probably my favorite parts too is when they do the at the end of the film when they go through the heads of everybody else as well. Yeah, that was funny. And I thought it was interesting too how what emotions were in charge in other people's heads.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, that was interesting. The main emotion was anger, was in charge, and then the mother was sadness for some reason. Yeah. And I think the movie would have been better for me if I had read it. I've read some of their ideas that they weren't able to put into the film, and I think if we had seen more of some of those, like they talk about this one thing that they had to cut where it was why you can remember faces but you can't remember names because they're stored in two different places and the workers hate each other, so they won't talk to each other. Like if they had put more stuff like that in there, I think it would have been a little bit better. But I think so much of it is tied up into the trying to get joy and sadness back into headquarters is, I don't know. You didn't get as much chance to explore a lot of the stuff. I think they would have made it better.
That's interesting. I would have loved to have seen more of that. 'Cause it seems to be the stuff I enjoyed the most was how they explained everything that happens in your head.
Yeah, I think that's all very clever, and I really liked all of that stuff. I just think maybe it's just the fact of the quest of the story. I think that detracted from the rest of it.
So the stuff that they didn't do you know if they actually animated it and they cut it out, or they just didn't do it at all? They just cut it from the beginning.
That I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of it probably did get cut out altogether, but some of it we may see, some version of it animated when it comes out on video.
Or maybe they make a sequel.
Maybe.
I don't think they really set it up as a sequel, but the idea of her entering puberty, I think, would be, with that cast of people, I think might be really funny and interesting. Yeah. But also difficult. Yes. Probably difficult to do. A Pixar film about a young woman or a young boy discovering themselves. I guess there's really not going to be a sequel now that I think about it. That's an entirely different film. But there's one industry that'll probably jump all over that. So
yeah, there probably is, and you're in a hotbed of it now.
That's right. I didn't even realize that. Yes, I am. Yeah. I'm shocked by how many adult clubs there are in this area. As I was driving through Tampa, exploring it, and it's like there's one part of the street where there's like 4 of them, and they're all like within like 10 feet of each other.
Yeah, Tampa is Florida's gentleman's club mecca for a long time. They put in a lot of laws to kind of try and dissuade it a little bit, but there's still a lot of places down there. A lot of places in Tampa.
Oh, good. I can't think of any other better way to end the discussion about a kids' film. Nicely done, first run. Let's shift over to the Blu-ray DVD picks, and then we'll finish that up with Jurassic World. So this is what's coming up this upcoming Tuesday, June 30th. Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart in Get Hard. It comes out with a Blu-ray DVD Ultraviolet. There's an unrated cut of the film. 2 guys I really like, but for some reason I had no interest to see this film. I don't know why. I didn't feel like they didn't really, outside of some commercials, I didn't really feel much of a commercial push either for this.
Yeah.
But now's your chance to catch up with it. Include some deleted scenes. Noah Baumbach's latest film, While We're Young, which is with Ben Stiller. Same guy. Goes with the details. As being released on Blu-ray. A film that really looked interesting to me, Kimiko the Treasure Hunter. Are you familiar with this at all, Matt?
No.
So it's a foreign film. It stars Rinko Kikuchi, who was an Oscar nominee for Babel. She's kind of like this cubicle worker who finds a videotape and watches it, thinking that the film's a documentary, and she goes on a quest to find the hidden treasure. That tape is Fargo.
Oh, nice.
So then she goes to try and find the stolen cash that was buried in North Dakota.
Nice.
It's supposed to be a really interesting film. Includes some deleted and alternate scenes as well as commentary as well. Hard to Be a God. Are you familiar with Hard to Be a God?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
So it's a novel. It's a film based on the novel by the Strugatsky brothers.
Okay.
Basically, this director spent almost his whole career trying to make this film. He started in the mid '60s and kept working on it, and he came close to finishing it, and then he died in 2013. So I think they wrapped it all up for him, and they're releasing it on Blu-ray. It's supposed to be like a 3-hour epic. Basically, what it is, it's a sci-fi film about a planet that's still in the Middle Ages, and some scientists from Earth go there to try and document what's happening.
Yes.
They're revered as kind of gods there as well because of the technology stuff. It's supposed to be really good.
Yeah,
and it's finally being released. You can check that out. Sean Penn's turn as Liam Neeson in The Gunman is coming out as well on Blu-ray and DVD. You can see Al Pacino play an aging rock star who tries to rejuvenate his career and discover and reconnect with his family, and Danny Collins. Criterion is giving us 5 Easy Pieces, the big film that launched Jack Nicholson as a leading man. That's coming out on Blu-ray as well. Valerie and Her Week of Wonders is coming out from Criterion. It's about a girl on the verge of womanhood who finds herself in a sensual fantasy land of vampires, witchcraft, and other threats. It's supposed to be a very weird, kind of mystical, eerie movie, but it's supposed to be really good. And it's part of a Czech. It's part of the Czech New Wave. So that's coming out as well. For your fans of bad 80s horror films, Ghost House and Witchery are coming out in a double pack. Witchery is basically also known as Ghost House 2, and Witchery, though, does star David Hasselhoff, so you can pick that up. Mystery Science Theater fans, if you're a fan of Escape from the Bronx, which is one of my favorite Mystery Science Theater episodes, well, all 3 of the films in the trilogy are being released on Blu-ray from Scream Factory. 1990, The Bronx Warriors, Escape from the Bronx, and The New Barbarians are all being released on Blu-ray. They're Italian kind of rip-offs of Escape from New York kind of a thing, post-apocalyptic New York. So, but they're really cheesy and bad, but in a good way. So you can check those out as well. And since we're doing a double episode for you, I'm going to tell you what's coming up on July 7th as well. Arnold Schwarzenegger anti-zombie film Maggie. And I don't mean anti as in they're against zombies. It's just not your typical zombie movie. That's being released because of a deleted scene and a making of feature as well as commentary by the director. The film Woman in Gold, starring Helen Mirren and Ryan Reynolds, about the woman who is trying to reclaim her past by that famous painting. And me being the art major, I can't remember the name of it right now. I'm very ashamed by that. But it's being released on Blu-ray as well. A film I didn't even know about, Slow West. A 16-year-old boy is on a journey across 19th century frontier America in search of the woman he loves, meanwhile being accompanied by a mysterious traveler, played by Michael Fassbender. So that automatically kind of piques my interest. I get a feeling that'll probably show up on Netflix pretty soon. And then The Town That Dreaded Sundown, the remake, which is on Netflix right now, is getting released on Blu-ray. I think it's pretty good as far as remakes and horror films go. And it's kind of I should say that. It's not really a remake. It's a kind of a sort of sequel to the original film. And it's going to be exclusive only to Best Buy, though, until September 8th.
Okay. Wow, long time.
Yeah, Kill Me 3 Times, a film starring Simon Pegg, but I got the feeling he's only in it for like 10 minutes because it's got a whole bunch of people I never heard of. That's getting released as well. And new to Blu-ray next week is The Killers. Criterion is giving us, what's great about this, it's a 2-pack. So you get the 1946 version of The Killers as well as the 1964 version. One by Don Siegel and the other one by Robert Sidemak. Have you ever seen The Killers, Matt?
No, I have not.
Yeah, they're both really good film noirs. So I love that they have them in a 2-pack. And Criterion's also giving us the Big Chill on Blu-ray as well. Some catalog stuff, The Cell, Joe Dirt, Virtuosity, Rush, Robot Jacks, Firebirds, and Street Smart are all getting released on Blu-ray for the first time. And then finally, your straight-to-DVD pick of the week, Matt. I'm going to go with After Midnight.
Okay.
When someone murders Duffy, a stripper at a Candy Cat club, her sister Constance, a TV news reporter, goes undercover to discover the killer's identity, even the score. Urged to stay out of harm's way by her shrink, played by Richard Grieco.
Oh, nice.
She manages to get hired by the club's sexy manager, played by Tawny Katane. and soon
Ooh.
find yourself in the middle of a string of bizarre killings, all made more macabre by the presence of her dead sister's ghost. So not only is it like a murder or mystery thriller, it's also got a supernatural element as well as Booker. The exciting thriller stars, of course, Greco Catane, and then a bunch of other people. Christine Nguyen, who's known for her Skinamax late night films.
Nice.
So you can check out After Midnight just to see Booker's a good cop. And check that out again. So, Matt, there's also something coming out on Netflix actually right now that I wanted to talk about. Did you have a streaming pick for us? Is there anything we should be streaming right now?
Sure. Here's a classic from the late 80s, early 90s Hong Kong action oeuvre. This is The Killer, starring Chow Yun-fat, one of John Woo's classic films. It's about an assassin agrees to take on one final assignment to raise money for a woman he accidentally maimed during a shootout. Classic film. It's got a lot of John Woo's kind of cliched stuff, but this is really one of the first times it actually showed up. So it's actually something you should definitely check out if you're an action fan.
Yeah, that is a classic. That's a good pick. I like that. Yeah, if I remember what it was next week, I'll tell you what it is. But I can't remember what the heck it was. I remember seeing it and go, oh, yeah, that's definitely what I should tell everybody about. I already mentioned that Nightcrawler was on there. So if you haven't checked that out, you definitely should. Did you get a chance to check out Nightcrawler yet?
Yeah, I watched it the other day.
Nice.
It's really good.
Yeah.
His Jake Gyllenhaal's performance is really good. I also like the theory that he's a vampire, even though it doesn't really fit, but I still kind of like that theory.
That's interesting. I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, no, I don't buy it.
No, well, I mean, he's out in the daytime quite a bit, although Dracula did too, so who knows?
Okay. Interesting. Not really. All right. So then let's move on to some news. Matt, do you have anything? What's going on in Hollywood land? Have you talked to Jimmy Hollywood lately?
I did. This is what Jimmy had to tell me. So Reed Carolyn, who is Channing Tatum's producing and writing partner, has said, you know what, when asked about the new Ghostbuster films with Channing Tatum in it, he says, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. And then when he asked a little bit more, he said, no, I don't think so. I think it's too complicated. There's a lot of things going on with that brand, and I just feel like it's oversaturated. So it doesn't sound like we'll be getting a Channing Tatum, Chris Pratt version of Ghostbusters anytime soon. Which is kind of a bummer.
That's too bad. Yeah. I thought it was where he was going to be the secretary for the female Ghostbusters.
No, you're thinking of Thor, Chris Hemsworth.
Ah, that's what it is, Hemsworth. Yeah. I get all my dreamy guys confused. It's hard to keep track
well, there are so many of them, you know.
That's too bad, but I guess that's fine. Yeah. You know, Paul Feig, I think, is I after seeing Spy, I still haven't seen The Heat, but I thought Spy was absolutely hilarious. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, I heard it's pretty good. I have not seen it, though.
So I can't wait to see what he does with a Ghostbuster. So it has to be better than Ghostbusters 2.
Well, there you go. Well, that's a really low bar to cross, so I think you'll be all right there.
I'm trying to make it easy for him as much as I can.
That's generous of you.
Thank you. Anything else?
All right. Yeah, so going into comic book movies here. So we've got the Justice League of America coming up in 2017. We've got all of our major principals cast, except there's one thing that seems to be a bit of a surprise. The rumor is that we're actually going to get 2 Green Lanterns in this film. We're going to get Hal Jordan, which is what we've seen from Ryan Reynolds, and the thought is that Chris Pine is going to be the one playing Hal Jordan. And we're also going to get Jon Stewart, who was made famous from the Justice League of America cartoon. And the rumor is that Tyrese Gibson is going to be playing Jon Stewart, which I'm really excited about. I like the idea of getting multiple Green Lanterns. It would even be better if they could somehow shoe in Guy Gardner in there just for insanity purposes. I don't know how I feel about Tyrese playing Jon Stewart. I'm not a huge fan of Tyrese, but I think it's kind of cool that they're putting the 2 of them in there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the way to go, and you can really kind of try and fix or relaunch the Green Lantern franchise as well by going that route.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the big mistakes of the first film. They should have done, I think maybe started with the whole space cops thing.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm the same boat as you with Tyrese. I don't know. I think he's fine in the Fast and Furious films, but I think part of his shtick is that, I mean, he's such a good-looking guy, you know, that he's also he's got like a charming arrogance about him. But the problem is that's Hal Jordan's thing.
Yeah.
It's not Jon Stewart's thing.
Yeah, Jon Stewart needs a kind of a sense of like mature gravitas to him, which I just don't think that Tyrese is going to bring. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know who. Maybe I would have liked maybe even somebody a little older, maybe. I don't think Lawrence Fishburne is too old, but somebody who could kind of bring a bit of seriousness to it.
I always my default is always Idris Elba, but I don't know if that's just my.
Yeah, well, considering everybody's trying to shoehorn him into everything, and to be fair, if somebody just said, "Sure, you want to be in this," it seems like he said, "Sure, why not?" See Prometheus.
That's true.
All right, I got 2 more things about the small screen I just want to bring up real quick. So I'm sure you saw this, but Jon Bernthal has been cast as the Punisher in Netflix's Daredevil Season 2. Jon Bernthal is probably best known as Shane from The Walking Dead. So this brings up that we're going to have the Punisher, we're going to have Elektra, and it sounds like we're going to have Bullseye as the main villain in Daredevil Season 2. So what do you think? Is that too much? Are they trying to shoehorn in as much as possible, or are we really going to see something crazy as far as action goes?
I think what I hope is going to happen is that, well, I heard the showrunner has basically been calling Season 2 Daredevil versus the Punisher.
Okay.
And I think that what might be good is but my idea requires a third season. So Season 2 is Daredevil versus the Punisher, them kind of clashing throughout the first season. And then the subplot is the introduction of Elektra, and then the Kingpin kind of comes back in some way or something, I don't know, and hires Bullseye. So Bullseye is kind of more of an ancillary. He's in the outskirts of the show the entire second season. And then the third season would be and of course, Matt Murdock and Elektra's relationship develops and they fall in love. That all happens through the second season. The third season then would be kind of the full return of Kingpin, and then Daredevil and the Punisher more or less kind of have to team up to stop Bullseye and the Kingpin from destroying the city or something. And then, and of course, spoilers, though I guess it doesn't really matter with Elektra. She gets killed maybe at the very end of Season 2.
Right.
So then there's that whole part of it too as well. I don't know, but that's what I'm thinking would make the sense. Instead of trying to shoehorn a whole bunch of heroes and villains into one season, I'd rather them play kind of setup roles for a third season.
Okay. Yeah, that could work. I'm really interested to see how this works out. And then the last bit of sad news, it's already been announced a lot earlier than it usually would have been, but it's already been announced that this is the third season of Hannibal. This will be the last season on NBC. It has been canceled. Although, since it's a co-production with a European company, and it's actually very, very popular overseas. It sounds like there's a very good possibility it's either going to go on to Amazon Prime or Netflix for the 4th season.
I have not seen a single episode of the show.
It is that show, in addition to 12 Monkeys, the sci-fi show. I had absolutely no interest in them, and I just happened to just sat down. I'm gonna watch this and check it out. They're actually really, really good. They are both really good. You should definitely check out Hannibal if you get the chance to see it.
I love Mads Mikkelsen too, so
he makes a great Hannibal, not like over the top like Anthony Hopkins is.
Yeah, I've almost bought the seasons too. Every now and again, like the first season will be out really cheap on Blu-ray or something. I've almost got it a couple times.
Yeah,
but I never pulled the trigger. So I'm hoping is it on Netflix? It's not, right?
It used to be, but I think Amazon now has exclusive Prime rights to it now for streaming.
I can't be separating my dollars like this. It's just too much. But yeah, I've heard it. I heard it's one of those where it's critically acclaimed. Like everybody says it's fantastic, but nobody seems to watch it.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy good as far as just the atmosphere they bring to it, and the acting is just fantastic, and it'll blow you away just how graphic they get away with stuff. And it's usually all aftermath kind of stuff, but it's just disgusting, gory stuff, but it still happens to be like really artistic at the same time. It's actually a great show.
Yeah, I've heard it's very violent and very
missing out, dude. So you're part of the problem, Chris. You're part of the problem.
I am. Damn it.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's all I got.
Fair enough. All right. So let's jump back then into Jurassic World.
Oof. Okay, let's.
Uh-oh, that didn't sound like a ringing endorsement of Jurassic World.
No.
Come on, it's going to be the relaunch of a franchise. It's got Chris Pratt, who can do no wrong, the next big star of Hollywood, the next possible Indiana Jones, the guy. If you're going to relaunch Big Trouble in Little China, though we like The Rock, we both agreed last time that actually I think it probably makes more sense for Chris Pratt to play the guy who runs the Pork Chop Express.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Every time we've unveiled a new attraction, attendance has spiked.
That was awesome.
Corporate felt genetic modification would up the wow factor.
They're dinosaurs. Wow enough.
She was designed to be bigger than the T-Rex.
What happened to the sibling?
She ate it. We have an asset out of containment. What is that?
Her tracking implant. She clawed it out.
How would it know to do that?
She remembered where they put it in.
Oh, God.
She's killing for sport.
You got 20,000 people. You got no more boats. You don't have enough guns.
If we do this my way.
You got eyes on target?
Light it up!
Something's wrong. They're communicating.
We're talking about an animal here.
A highly intelligent animal.
So everything comes together perfectly, right? You have, first off, it's the second film by the director. The last film he did was Safety Not Guaranteed, which I love. I think it's a great little film. And so segues from that to a huge summer blockbuster. And let's be clear about this, Matt. This thing has made a ton of money. It is a massive hit.
Yes.
All right. And it's okay. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how I come down on it. You seem to maybe not like as much as me, but I think it's fine. I think it's fine popcorn summer viewing, but it's a retread. It's a sequel in every sense of the word, but I would say in bad senses of the word, right? We got to up the ante. We got to make the dinosaur, the monster, bigger and scarier, and then the story is not as interesting this time. The special effects are better. Yeah. But even then, I don't know. I had some problems with the beginning scene and the raptor cage, but it's fine. I feel like the film is hampered by, I think, poor or lazy dialogue.
Yeah.
Poor characters. The characters serve no purpose in this film except to get to the next dinosaur scene. And how you take Chris Pratt and his personality and then just kind of, it just didn't work for me in this. I think I blame the dialogue for this because I feel like Pratt is a much better... He's a great screen presence, but he seemed this kind of, everybody in the film seemed for me to be just kind of cardboard characters,
right? In
this film, I didn't really care about anybody. Bryce Dallas Howard, she's more Fay Ray than Imperator Furiosa, that's for sure. I mean, she's pretty much a damsel in distress. There's one scene where she's actually lying down on her side, with her dress torn, doing that whole Fay Ray thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the film is sexist as some people have claimed. I'm not sure if let's put it doesn't, you know what? She's not, I didn't find her a particularly strong female character. So, and the dialogue that Pratt's character has with her when we first meet the two of them together too is just, it's not good. It's not good. All the characters just serve to move the plot along to get to the next dinosaur scene. It's like talk, dinosaurs, then talk. They're almost ancillary to the rest of the film. They're just there to provide a meal for the dinosaurs. One thing too is one of the plot points. Like, did you know that those two kids, that their parents were getting divorced? Because we find that out, and then we do nothing with it.
Yeah, I figured it out. I mean, I guess in my brain trying to Figure out, okay, why are they sending their two kids off by themselves and, halfway across the world, and then, oh yeah, they're getting divorced when you see them, in the lawyer's office and stuff like that. At least they tied that little plot hole together. So that's something. I mean, I'm with you. This movie, I think I probably did like it a lot less than you. I think it could have, I think part of the problem is that Jurassic Park, I think, is one of those films that I saw when I was, young and formative, and it was kind of blew me away. And I don't think anything ever is going to live up to kind of that first experience. Even that first Jurassic Park, if you watch it now, it's nowhere near as good as it was when you watched it back in 1993, right? But what I can't decide about this movie is it's either just the worst middle of the road, kind of summer action picture that's made a ton of money, and it makes you sad that this is what we're going to see a lot of by people try and recreate this, right? Or it's a really good satire of those type of movies, and I don't know if I'm giving it too much credit in that last part. But to your point, every character in here is a cliched cipher of the genre, right? So, Pratt is the kind of squinting, smirking, swaggering, nature guy. Bryce Dallas Howard is the driven career woman who, when kind of taken out of her element, has to learn how to survive. The kids are, just annoying little kids who do stupid stuff that gets them into trouble, that requires them to be rescued. I think literally, let's not forget the evil corporation guy who wants to use the animals for his own ends, for weaponize them. This whole thing, I mean, it's literally like they took all of the cliches of these action movies, and not only that, it seems like it's a cliche, like a satire on big monster movies, like Godzilla type movies, because those are what the dinosaurs were more like than they were actual dinosaurs. I mean, literally, they're busting through like reinforced concrete walls like they're nothing. I mean, where's it just, the way the amount of havoc that they're wreaking is really what I'm like. I'm watching a Godzilla movie right now. I'm not watching a movie about dinosaurs.
That's true. That's a good way to put it. That's a good point. Yeah, I think you're entirely right. I don't know if I was just more forgiving, but I think I shouldn't say that, because I just thought it was all right. I don't know if I'm trying to measure your level of disgust with this film. I would probably, if I had to give it a letter grade, I'd probably go like C plus.
Yeah.
So what?
I'd go C minus. I'd go C minus. I mean, the visuals are really cool, but I think it's kind of mean spirited in a lot of places. I think the characters are really just not good. And like I said, it's either a really good satire, or at least a decent attempt at satire of the genre, or it's just the kind of cookie cutter pinnacle worst aspects of the genre. I'm not sure where it's supposed to be.
I the one thing that would lead some credence to your satire theory is the fact of the commercialization of everything in the park.
Right.
It's the Samsung T-Rex theater.
Yeah.
I think that, but I don't know. I think maybe they're if that was the case, I think they're not as smart as they think they are.
No, I agree. I agree.
If that's it, I think they stumbled into that instead of plotting it out from the beginning.
That's what I mean. I don't know if I'm giving them too much credit. Yeah. And even if that's what they were going for, I think they kind of missed the mark. But at least I could, respect what they were trying to do.
Yeah, I guess that's sure. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's interesting too, because what I'm nervous is about what you said about that the studios and other films may start following this. Not even that. Not that Jurassic World is breaking new ground in summer blockbuster sequel territory. They're not. They're just. It's the same thing we've seen a dozen times.
Yeah.
I hope. My concern is that, like you said, that this is since this is the most recent lesson for Hollywood, and the thing is making a ton of money.
Yep.
That we're gonna forget about Fury Road. We're gonna forget that those opportunities are there.
Right. I think what this is, so like Avengers made $1.5 billion, and the lesson that Hollywood took from that is we need a shared universe. We need to be able to build out all this money. Look at all this money Marvel's making, right? And that's worked had varying degrees of results, but nobody's been able to match Marvel's success because they don't understand that at the end, the characters in those films and the films themselves are good. What they're going to look at this one is they're going to say, this one has it gone past the Avengers yet? It's got to be really close.
Yeah, I don't know. Take a look. Go ahead.
But I'm afraid what the lesson's going to be is, and just when Avatar made its, however many billions of dollars, the lesson was we need 3D movies, right? And we had to suffer through however long of everything having to be 3D.
Still are.
But I mean, it's but you can tell it's on the wane. Not as many people go, right? Mm-hmm. I think what you're going to get from this is people want to see big, dumb action set pieces. Let's throw a bunch of effects and everything. Don't worry about the characters and the acting because that's not what people want to see. They just want to see, a spectacle movie. And we're going to kind of go back to the same kind of movies that we saw when the first Jurassic Park and Terminator 2 came out. Like those types of dumb follow-up action movies that have a lot of special effects.
I knew Jurassic World was doing well, but listen to this. So Age of Ultron, right, domestically made $452 million. All right? 452.428. Foreign gross was 919. So Avengers Age of Ultron was $1.37 billion.
Okay. Jurassic
World has actually made more money than Avengers Age of Ultron domestically. They just crossed over 500 million.
Okay.
The foreign box office was about half of the Avengers one. So they're at they just cleared $1 billion. They're at 1.08.
Wow.
But they're right behind them. They're only 300 million off.
Right.
Man, I knew Jurassic World was doing good, but listen, if you told me last year that Jurassic World was going to outgross Avengers domestically, I would have said you're crazy.
Right.
I think I'd said Avengers Age of Ultron was going to be the number one pulling film. I think that the thing we did was it was Avengers or Star Wars.
Right.
Would have the number one return. And then I can't say out of nowhere, but Jurassic World then blows that away by what? What is that? Like $50 million.
Yeah.
And it's still going. Jurassic World is still going.
So we'll have to see what Star Wars manages to do, but I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I was in the movie theater getting ready to watch this film, and somebody was talking to me about, next to me, a stranger, was talking about how excited they were, and they could not wait to see this. And I was like, really? I mean, really? You loved the Jurassic Park series that much that you're that excited to see this? So
really, yeah, only the first one is the one that you would even really, I think, have any real watchability about.
Yeah, I agree. But I guess maybe just you and I, as the snobs we are, maybe we're just not in touch with the common man.
I guess not.
I guess
you gotta get out of our ivory cinematic towers. Stop talking about Fury Road, and I can stop mentioning Drive every other week.
There you go. That is something you have to work on, by the way.
That's interesting. So if you'd had a chance to see either Inside Out or Jurassic World, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Matt, let's jump into our top 5.
Let's.
This was difficult. If you follow me, The First Run, I should say, or on Facebook and Twitter, you would have seen that I posted my list yesterday. Well, not my top 5, though. I posted all the films I had to choose from 2010 till today. And Matt, we're talking like 30-something films, if not more.
Okay.
Like 30 to 40 movies. And I had to choose 5. And all of these films are fantastic. So I think that's good. I'm happy about that because everything, as you said, Hollywood's so sequel crazy. It's usually, I should say, usually the top 10 box office films are established properties.
Right.
Right, they're either superheroes or they're sequels or they're an adaptation of something. But to see such great original films, I think is fantastic. It did kill me though that Drive was based on a novel, so I couldn't put it on the list.
I knew I saw that. I'm like, good thing this thing is based on a book. We'll have to hear about that. But what's funny is that I like how you're saying that there were so many of them, but I was actually struck while I was going through there's only like however many I had a really long list and I took it all out. I took most of it out because I just to make it smaller. But I was a little surprised at how many how many of them are based on a book or based off of, a TV show that they're adapting or something like that. And that it's only like maybe 5 or 6 a year that are actually new properties.
I think that's a good point because, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't say my list is big, but you're right. In 2010, I had 6 films. 2011, I had 7. 2011, 7. 2012, I had 6. 2013, I think, is my biggest year, right behind 2014. But, yeah, you're right. 2015, so far this year, I got 3.
Yeah.
We're halfway through the year. I got 3.
Oh. But I mean, and that's not even to say that sequels and adaptations are bad. I mean, our favorite film probably of the year so far is probably Mad Max, and that's a sequel.
That's very true. All right, so I think I went first last week. Did I, or did you go?
I think I went first last week.
All right, so I'll go first. You get the ultimate number 1. My number 5 is the first English language film by Park Chan-wook, and that's Stoker. Film came out, when did Stoker come out? Was it 2012? 2013. If you haven't seen it, how do you describe it? Mia Wasikowski's father passes away. Her mother is played by Nicole Kidman. And at the funeral, a strange man played by Matthew Good shows up. It turns out to be the uncle, the brother of the deceased dad. And Mia Wasikowski is enraptured by this guy. And who is he? And he just shows up out of nowhere and he starts to seduce her mother, or does he? And then he starts to bring Wasikowski down a dark path. But it's a beautiful, disturbing film. I absolutely loved Stoker when it came out. I'm a big fan of this guy's work. I mean, the guy did Old Boy, Lady Vengeance, some classic films. And this, I think, is criminally underappreciated. So I had to put it on there. I absolutely love Stoker. That's my number 5.
Okay. It's a good pick. I didn't put it on my list, but that's a good pick. I agree with it. All right. So my number 5, you're putting out the year these things came out?
Well, you don't have to.
Okay. Because I don't have that. All right. So my number 5 is just came out, I believe, last year, is the Spike Jonze joint, Her. Starring Joaquin Phoenix, about a man who develops a relationship with his artificial intelligence operating system, and kind of the relationship that they have. I thought it was a great film. I like how he built out like an overall world, and like even though you didn't see a lot of what was around it, it seemed very real as far as that there were lots of other things happening, and I always appreciate that in a film.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, that's my number 4 is Her.
Okay.
I was struck by how much I loved this film when it came out. I thought I would because I tend to like Spike Jonze's work, but I got to tell you, one of the things too, I still haven't gotten the missus to watch this movie. She says, because it's a guy falls in love with his operating system. Are you crazy? But I'm telling you, it works.
It does.
I don't know why it does, but it does. I think it just really still examines at the heart of what relationships and love are really about. And so I think it's Joaquin is fantastic in it as well. I think it's if you haven't, Her is a fantastic film, man. So that's it. Yeah, it's my number 4.
Okay,
I agree with you.
All right. My number 4, this is kind of a little weird since all of his films seem to take place in the same world, so maybe it's kind of an adaptation, but not really, is The Grand Budapest Hotel. A great film about, that came out last year as well too, right, Chris?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
About a hotel in Eastern Europe and the staff that works there and kind of the shenanigans that ensue. So if it's the Wes Anderson film, if you really like those kinds of films, check it out. Definitely. It's kind of got his later period ones seem to have a lot more whimsy into them as some of his earlier work. But I think it's probably one of his best ones he's done in a long time.
Yeah, we had said back on the show too when Dave and I had discussed. Dave's a huge Wes Anderson guy. I mean, Royal Tenenbaums is his absolute favorite film. He works it into every list he possibly can, even if it doesn't apply. He finds a way.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie.
And we both felt too that Her was a return to form. And what I loved so much too, and I think this is Wes Anderson's version of a horror film. It's like an Edward Gorey, the original Addams Family, the cartoon, the comic strips, the cartoons. It's like one of those things kind of come to life.
Right.
So yeah, I like it a lot. You'd initially too. You wouldn't think it would work, right? His whimsy into a pre-World War I, kind of thing is just. I don't know about that, but it does. It works. It's a brilliant film. My number 3 then still bothers me to this day. Not the film, but the fact that this man, the star of it, was robbed of his Academy Award last year. So I'm going Birdman. It was my number 3.
All right.
I did say that Boyhood was my favorite film of 2014. I don't know if I said that. I thought it was the best film. But I do have a weird affection for Birdman. I've seen it again, too, since I bought it when it came out. And the film just gets more brilliant every time I see it. I absolutely love Birdman. It's about Michael Keaton stars as this actor who's known for playing a superhero. And he's kind of been typecast as this, and he's trying to start his own play to kind of show everybody who he is and what he's about and everything. And maybe he's slowly going insane. But it's a fantastic performance by Michael Keaton. The whole cast, Edward Norton, everybody is universally fantastic. And it's one of the more original films you're going to see. So that's my number 3.
Yeah, I watched that last night, actually. It was really good. I did like the whole, they tried to make it look like it was all one cut. Like it was all just kind of this one long scene. It was really good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I love the score, too, the drums throughout the film.
Yeah, it was a good movie. All right, well, since I'm a horror fan, I had to put a horror film on this list, and I may have more than one. But my number 3 is The Cabin in the Woods. Now, whether you think this is the best film or not, I don't know, but I think it's really enjoyable. Joss Whedon's kind of take on the tropes of horror films and why they are the way they are, and kind of his takedown of that. It's funny. It still has some good gore and some kind of good scares in it. I really appreciated the kind of deconstruction of the entire horror genre.
Yeah, I considered that. It's not on my honorable mentions, but I felt like I couldn't. I maybe you can convince me. I've vacillated back and forth on this in considering that film an original concept when all it does is tweak all the horror cliches.
Yeah, I guess But if you're gonna try and exclude something like that. That's the reason you're going to exclude it from the list, I think you're going to have a very short list. I think you're going to have a really short list. Yeah. Yeah. So I think, I appreciated what it was trying to do. I thought it did it really well. It's got his kind of trademark humor in it as well. So yeah, I thought it was really good.
Yeah. I think it's a good point because you're right. Because if I did that, I probably couldn't have my number 2, which is The Raid: Redemption.
I kind of was so close on that one.
The greatest martial arts film of the past 10 years. I like the sequel, Berengal, a lot. It's a larger film and also, sadly, also a little bloated. But The Raid is why it's so perfect. Is you have one cop, right? Well, him and a bunch of crooked cops, and he's a new member of it, right? And they go to raid this building run by this gangster. But what they don't realize, actually, not all the cops are crooked. I apologize. I shouldn't say that. Just a couple of them. But they go to raid this apartment building run by this gangster, and everybody that lives in the apartment building is a bad guy. Like in order to get in that building, you have to kind of pledge your allegiance to the main guy. And they lock these cops in, and they basically pay off everybody in the apartment building to kill all the cops. And you have one guy who's just got to fight his way through this whole gigantic. Basically, if you've seen Dredd, you've seen the Americanized version of The Raid.
Yeah,
but it's some of the most brutal, bone-crunching. I mean, you feel these action scenes. This is one of those. We've talked about this before when we talked about the film, both of them. We measure it by how many times we go, oh, when we're watching it. And this film has a few dozen of those moments at least. So I could not mention The Raid on this list. So, yep, that's my number 2.
Raid's really good. It was on my honorable mentions, but it's basically like a video game level is basically all it is. It's kind of start at the bottom and fight your way to the top to the big boss at the end. That's all it is.
It's some of the most beautifully choreographed violence you'll ever see.
Although, is it wrong of me to say that I preferred Dredd?
Really?
Yeah, I did. I really liked Dredd a lot.
I liked it, but I don't know. That's interesting. I wouldn't have expected you to do that. Say that. All
No?
right. I just thought the Raid was just such a lean film, and then I felt the Dread bit so much from the Raid that I felt like automatically it gets points deducted.
See, and I don't know if that's true. I think the very thing is
he's got to fight his way to the top of the building to beat the bad guy. It's the same movie.
But here's the thing. It's not like the Raid came out so much far in advance. I think they came out the same year, right?
Yeah, but I think if the Raid would have been like a year older anyway, because it wouldn't have been released internationally previously.
I think I saw Dread first, and I think if you saw Dread first and then you saw the Raid instead of vice versa, which is I think what happened with you.
Yeah,
you would probably prefer Dread, or at least you wouldn't say that as much.
The Raid was 2011. Dread, 2012. It's too bad we're not going to get a sequel of that too. I thought Dread. I mean,
yeah.
I shouldn't say. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I didn't like Dread. I loved Dread. I was blown away by Dread. I did not expect it to be as good as it was. I remember when they first announced it, and man, I'm like, I almost like, I'm sure I'm pretty sure we'll end up wanting to watch the Stallone version instead when this film comes out. Good Lord, was I wrong?
You were totally wrong.
This thing is, you're talking about another lean, mean action film. Dread is just that as well. But yeah, maybe I'm just twisted because I saw the Raid first. I don't know. All right, what do you got?
All right, so my number 2 is probably the best horror movie I've seen in the last 5 years. Is It Follows.
Mm-hmm.
Great, lean, kind of dirty little horror film. Has some really suspenseful stuff. I mean, it was like the first time in a long time, and not a whole lot of gore, but it was just tense. Like it was genuinely kind of scary while you're sitting there watching that film. It really made me feel uneasy. It's about, obviously, for lack of a better term, a monster STD that follows people around, and only they can see, and it basically gets inexorably closer, never stopping, getting closer and closer to its victim. I thought it was a great film. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it was basically my number 6. I loved It Follows as well. Who would have thought? I think that's a big problem that horror films make today. They trade mood for violence.
Yeah.
And that's what's so brilliant about It Follows. I mean, the scariest things in that film are just the solitary person slowly walking towards you all the time. Every time, even if they weren't the living evil embodiment of an STD, as you so eloquently put it, but whenever time you saw somebody somewhere in the background just solitarily walking,
yeah,
you would get freaked out. I mean, how effective is that? It's brilliant. So yeah, I agree with you entirely. Yeah, it was. I was almost in my top 5 a couple times too. Then I found some of the other films. So my number 1. I don't know. Part of me feels like it's a bit of a cop out, and I'm wondering if I watched it again, I wouldn't feel the same way. But right now, it is still Christopher Nolan's Inception.
Okay.
Just how I'm nervous if I watch it again. I'll be too critical of it intellectually, But I think what he does with time and dreams, more specifically. It's one of the more fascinating fantasy sci-fi films I've ever seen. A great score by Hans Zimmer as well. This is the beginning of the bong bong type thing. That's all started with Inception, unfortunately. But it's Leonardo DiCaprio in the film plays. Was it something Cobb? I can't remember his first name now.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But he plays. Yeah, he plays this guy Cobb who, if you at the right price, he will go into somebody's dream and plant an idea or change a thought or manipulate somebody somehow, all for a price. And he's joined by Ken Watanabe and then Tom Hardy before I really knew who Tom Hardy was. Jiggle, our boy Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Ellen Page, Michael Caine, an all-star cast. This is fresh off of The Dark Knight. It's his first film after The Dark Knight. And I just remember being blown away the first time I saw it, and I've seen it a few times since, and it still works. Remember one of the greatest. I still think one of the greatest fight scenes of the past 10 years is Joseph Gordon-Levitt in that rotating room.
Yeah,
it's just so clever, so smart from start to finish. Sometimes it may get a little bogged down in its mythology. I think a little bit, if mythology is even the right term. It's in its world.
Yeah.
and then there's the big ultimate question at the end: is Cobb dreaming or not? You know, as you watch it, does the top stop spinning? But I don't know. I still really love Inception, so that's my number one.
Yeah, no Christopher Nolan movies made the list for me. I think I like Christopher Nolan movies, but I think a lot of them are very fundamentally flawed, and I think Inception is one of them. I totally agree with you. I think the Joseph Gordon-Levitt fight in the rotating hallway is maybe one of the best fights ever put to the film. But I think a lot of his movies they just kind of collapse under the weight of their own, kind of self-importance, if you will.
I definitely feel that way maybe with Interstellar. I think maybe that starts a little bit with Inception, but I think I think it gets out the door right before that door closes.
Yeah.
I think it's an issue with The Dark Knight Rises a lot too. Yeah. I think I agree with you.
All right, so this ought to be interesting to see your reaction here. So is this movie particularly good? No. Is it but is it fun? Yes. And is it an original IP that looks like it may, against all odds, go franchise? What do you think I'm talking about, Chris?
I don't know. I'm looking at my list real fast. I don't know.
It is Pacific Rim. So
yeah,
this is
mentions.
Yeah. I kind of struggled with this. I mean, when you say an original, the list was a best original property, right? So, that could be really any kind of film. I think we've talked quite a bit about the gamut of standalone films. Like, you're not going to get a sequel to the Grand Budapest Hotel, right? But it is an original property. But when I was thinking of when you first said that, I thought IP, an intellectual property. What is the thing that's going to kind of potentially expand beyond just one film? And this is the immediately one that came to mind. Giant robots beating on giant monsters, and lots of collateral damage. What's not to like about it? Now, granted, is it hokey? Yes. It stars are up for anything. Idris Elba cashing in yet another paycheck. Hamming up the place. But you know what? I don't care. I think it's one of those films that when I catch it on HBO, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna sit here and watch this for a few minutes. And that's what I do.
I just watched this again myself about a month ago.
Yeah.
And the problem with that film is the interrelationship stuff in that film is atrocious. It's horrible. All the character interactions are just, I'm disappointed because I'm just like you, we're both big Del Toro fans.
Yeah.
And it's tone deaf. It doesn't work. The people don't talk that way to each other. They don't interact that way. It's maybe Charlie Day is one of the most entertaining things of that film when it comes to the actual people.
Yeah.
But the problem with the film is you're always waiting, just kind of like with Jurassic World. You just want to get to the monsters versus the robots. That's all you care about.
Right.
And that stuff is fantastic. And in a weird way, I almost think that film plays better on a small screen. I enjoyed the fights more on my smaller TV, maybe because I could actually track better what was happening. Because I think I saw this in IMAX when it first came out.
Right.
And but yeah, that stuff still works and is very effective. But I don't give a damn about anybody in that movie.
You know what? And everything you're saying isn't wrong. It's all very true. But as a kid who grew up watching Godzilla movies and guys in rubber suits beating on each other, I wasn't watching those for the character development. This struck a chord with me, and that's all that really mattered.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's fair. I can't believe it's your number one. And it was an honorable mention for me. So.
There you go.
Did you have any other ones you wanted to mention briefly?
Honorable mentions. So I put Interstellar, The Raid, Inception, Looper. I thought was I mean, it had its flaws, but you can't really think too hard about how the time travel works in that movie, but it's still pretty good. And this is one I kind of struggled with a lot. These two animated films, Wreck-It Ralph and the Lego Movie. You said no adaptions, but I mean those are toys or video games really, and they're not really based on they're cameos really. So I think those are both great films, although I didn't include them because I thought they might have offended the spirit of this list.
I appreciate your restraint.
Yes.
Some of the stuff too that you didn't mention that I had, you can see if you look at, as I said, I tweeted out and our Facebook page has the list, my whole list. 2010, the film A Prophet, The Last Exorcism, I'm still a big fan of found footage films. I think it's one of the more effective ones. Black Swan, I had a tough time leaving off my list. Remember the film Win-Win with Paul Giamatti?
Yep.
That's on there. Attack the Block is good. I had Bridesmaids, The Artist, Melancholia, Robot and Frank, Cabin in the Woods, like you said, Looper, Django Unchained. Does Django count? Because it's not Django.
It's not Django. I know. Yes, it counts. I had it in my list of potential ones to choose from, but I would not even give it an honorable mention.
All right. And I have a bunch more, but the other one I have to mention, of course, is Only God Forgives. I can't say Drive, so I'll say Nicholas Winding Refn's another film that everybody seems to hate that I love, which is Only God Forgives. And, of course, Under the Skin, I want to give some praise to, too, the Scarlett Johansson, moody alien.
Doesn't count. Doesn't count. It's a book.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Damn it. That's what I get.
Otherwise, that would have been in my top 5, probably.
Oh, all right. What about John Wick? No love for you from John Wick?
I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know.
Oh. You have to check out John Wick. All right. So did we miss any? Shoot us an email, feedback@thefirstrun.com. Next week, I have absolutely no idea what we're going to do for next week. Because it depends on if Dave's available. I don't know what Matt's scheduling is. I don't think anybody on this show has any real push or desire to go see Ted 2. I think I'd like to see it, but the reviews are horrible. And I like me some Ted stuff and Seth MacFarlane. You know, I like his work. So, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. So this is going to be a double episode. So there probably won't be an episode this Friday. This will make up for this and that one. And that's the big show. So shoot us an email as always, feedback@thefirstrun.com. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. And on YouTube. Just do a search for The First Run. And then you can follow Matt at Twitter as well at, I don't know, what's your profile there? What's your handle?
I think it's Thurston the Third, I think.
Good. Glad you have that down. I think that's also your Tinder and Grindr profiles are both that as well. And
only reach out to me on Grindr.
That's the big show for this week. I'm going to take an extended break, and hopefully I'll be all moved in, and everything will be back to status quo within a week. And we'll see everybody soon.
The virgin's death is optional as long as it's last. Main thing is that she, suffers.
That she did.
It's so strange. I'm actually rooting for this girl. She's got so much heart. You think of all the pain and the... Tequila is my lady!